After transmigrating into the vicious female supporting character of an abusive novel, the system ordered me to seduce the male lead, Jiang Sueya. To achieve the change of heart value, I turned around and warned the female lead, Bian Ji, with a serious face, "You can't be with him, he's bad luck for you. Just wait and see the results of the third mock exam." Sure enough, after the joint exam, she dropped to second place in the entire grade. The change of heart value went from 0 to 5. The system was dumbfounded. "Wait, what, you can play it like this?" I smirked mischievously. "Of course, you only said change of heart, but you never specified it had to be the male lead's heart that changes." I was feeling quite pleased with myself. Suddenly, a barrage of bullet comments flashed before my eyes. What does this vicious supporting female character Lin Qingyun mean by that? I get it now. You must be trying to drive the female lead away from the male lead so you can have him all to yourself, right? How cunning, how calculating. A day ago, I transmigrated into a tragic novel I had read, becoming the vicious female supporting character Lin Qingyun. She and the male lead Jiang Sueya had been childhood sweethearts for over 10 years. I've had a crush on him since childhood. But childhood sweethearts can't compete with new encounters in the first year of high school. Jiang Sueya fell in love at first sight with Bian Ji, a poor but academically outstanding, aloof and delicate girl. He began to pursue her passionately. Lin Qingyun secretly targeted her for a long time because of this. She tried every possible way to sabotage their relationship, but without exception, all her efforts only fueled their bond even more. Just before the college entrance exam, Lin Qingyun changed her tactics. She transformed herself into Bian Ji's best friend. On the surface, she had already let go of Jiang Sueya and wished them well, but secretly, she still schemed to drive a wedge between the two and tried to seduce him. In the end, through her careful planning, the drunken male lead mistook Lin Qingyun for someone else and slept with her, only to be discovered by the female lead, Bian Ji. This led to a misunderstanding and their eventual breakup. The system also told me that I could only leave after reaching a heart change value of 100. Looking at the heart change value in front of me, which had gone from 0 to 5, I instantly felt more confident. "I'm doing this for your own good, baby. Trust me, there will be plenty of time for love later. Right now, the most important thing is your studies." My words still echoed in my ears. Bian Ji's gaze at me gradually grew resolute, so the text message to Jiang Sueya, originally saying, "Let's meet at the usual spot after school," was changed to, "I'm sorry, my grades have dropped. Let's not see each other for a while." I am very satisfied with her performance. I immediately decided to give her an extra chicken leg when we go to the cafeteria for dinner tonight. For several days in a row, Jiang Sueya couldn't see Bian Ji. "I'm so annoyed." As soon as class ended, he rushed over from another classroom to see Bian Ji. Bian Ji's eyes lit up the moment she saw Jiang Sueya. But I immediately blocked Jiang Sueya's face. He shook his head seriously. Bian Ji sighed, then lowered her head and continued working on the test papers. I went out to meet Jiang Sueya in her place. "Why is it you?" Seeing it was me, Jiang Sueya spoke with great impatience. "Where is Gigi? Why has she been avoiding me lately? Did I do something wrong, or has she changed her heart and doesn't like me anymore?" Looking at the anxiety in his eyes, I spoke to him earnestly. "Jiang Sueya, you're not a child anymore. You should start thinking about your future together. If you truly like her, shouldn't you consider whether you can get into the same university? Her grades are good enough for Tsinghua or Peking University. What about you? Do you deserve her? Besides, you come from such a good family background, while she's just from a poor family. Would your parents accept her? Have you even considered any of this?" His speechless expression made it clear he had never thought about these things. I sighed. "You never considered anything. Yet you made her fall head over heels for you without a second thought. Don't you think that's incredibly irresponsible?" "Yes, you're rich, a wealthy heir who doesn't need to get into a good university to have a bright future arranged by your parents. But she's not like you. What comes easily to you might take her a lifetime of hard work to achieve. Promise me, if you truly want to be with her, show her your determination." Jiang Sueya was stunned by my words. He looked at me in surprise. "Lin Qingyun, have you been possessed by a ghost? You seem different from before." I felt a bit guilty, but I couldn't tell him that the person currently inhabiting this body wasn't the naive 18-year-old girl who blindly adored him. but a 28-year-old wage slave who had been beaten down by society. People change, and as for me, you should think carefully. The college entrance exam might not be important to you, but for BNG, it's the most crucial stage that could change her life. I don't want you disturbing her during this period. With that, I turned and walked away. As the class bell rang, Jiang Sueya had no choice but to glance longingly behind me a few times before reluctantly leaving. I sat back down in my seat. When I looked up, I saw the moisture in BNG's eyes, and she was looking at me with deep admiration. Thank you. So it turned out that everything I had just said had been overheard by her. BNG cautiously lowered her head. She apologized to me in a low voice. I'm sorry, you've been so good to me, but when you first approached me and wanted to be my friend, I actually suspected you were doing it for Jiang Sueya. I even wondered if you were behind the bullying I went through in my first and second year of high school. I was being narrow-minded. I let out an awkward laugh and said it was fine, but as I turned away, I felt extremely guilty. Those things were indeed done by Lin Qingyun. She approached BNG. Indeed for Jiang Sueya, but I am who I am, not the villainous supporting character Lin Qingyun, a tool written according to a predetermined script. Why do I feel like what the villainess said makes a lot of sense? Did I misunderstand her? Does she really not like the male lead anymore? Don't overthink it, folks upstairs. This is just one of her tactics. Right now, she's only trying to gain the female lead's trust. Later on, she'll definitely betray her for the male lead. Ha! I've already seen through it. After all, without female rivalry in romance novels, the plot simply can't move forward. The bullet comments scrolled sporadically. I simply pretended not to see them. After a period of settling down, BNG had already finished all the practice test papers. It was only then that I remembered her birthday was also approaching. Originally, on this day, the person accompanying her was Jiang Sueya, and on this very day, something happened that was enough to change her life forever. On the way back from class, I felt restless and uneasy. What's wrong, Qingyun? You've been absent-minded all day. BNG's words pulled me back to reality. I smiled and said it was nothing. Then I took her to a cake shop by the street. She looked completely bewildered, until I bought a very exquisite and expensive cake. And when she saw the birthday message on it, her eyes instantly became misty. Happy 18th birthday, BNG. How did you know today is my birthday? I pretended to be mysterious. Guess. Then she pulled a teddy bear plush toy out of her backpack. Here, this is for you. Do you like it? She stood frozen in place until tears welled up in her eyes, falling one by one to the ground. In an instant, I was pulled into an embrace. Thank you, Qingyun. I really like it. My heart ached slightly, and I unconsciously patted her back, careful and gentle in my movements. BNG lived in a poor family, and being sensible from a young age, she never asked her parents for gifts. On her 10th birthday, her mother, overjoyed after receiving her paycheck, went to buy her a birthday gift but was involved in a car accident on her way back. That day, BNG lost her mother, although her father never blamed her. From that moment on, she never allowed herself to celebrate another birthday. You know what? My mom got into a car accident on her way to buy me a teddy bear. She noticed how I'd stare at the teddy bears in the shop window every time we passed by. I never said anything, but she knew I liked them. BNG smiled at me. Tears began to flow. The cake in my mouth suddenly tasted bitter. I pulled out a tissue and wiped away her tears. I'm afraid to celebrate my birthday. I'm scared of remembering that my mother died because of me, all these years. She had been suppressing her emotions. Father and daughter never brought it up, but that didn't mean the wounds had healed. Your mother's death was an accident. You just need to know that she only wanted you to be happy and at peace. My words might not have made much of a difference. At least BNG had a good cry. Walking out of the cake shop, she felt much better. Right then, she bumped into Jiang Sueya. Long time no see. Jiang Sueya's gaze held a deep sense of attachment. I could see that BNG's eyes also held a long-lost yearning, so I tactfully stepped aside, but before Jiang Sueya took her away, I pulled her aside and shared some little whispers between girls. She blushed shyly and glared at me. At night, I lay on my bed at home, staring blankly at the ceiling. The change of heart value soared from 5 to 25. My phone vibrated. When I answered, BNG's trembling, tearful voice came through the phone. Qingyun, where are you? I want to come find you. While comforting her, I got up and started putting on my clothes. I'll come find you. When I arrived at the hotel entrance, I saw Bianji, her face streaked with tears like a rain-soaked pear blossom, and Jiang Sueya, who looked full of remorse. In the original book, on the day of Bianji's 18th birthday, the one who celebrated her birthday with her was Jiang Sueya, and the one who gave her the teddy bear was also him. Moved by his actions, Bianji half-heartedly gave herself entirely to Jiang Sueya. Afterward, since it was her first time, no protective measures were taken. Bianji became pregnant, and the college entrance exam was just around the corner. For the sake of her future, she had no choice but to have an abortion. Even so, the miscarriage took a heavy toll on her health, and she naturally performed poorly in the college entrance exam. She ended up only getting into a fairly decent first-tier university. This also became another reason why Jiang Sueya's parents later looked down on her. As soon as she saw me, Bianji rushed over crying and hugged me. I comforted her softly. After she had calmed down a bit, I walked straight up to Jiang Sueya, stopped in front of him. Then, I slapped him hard across the face. The slap left Jiang Sueya completely stunned. 5 palm prints clearly appeared on his snow-white face. Lin Qingyun, are you crazy? How dare you hit me? I said coldly. So what if I hit you? Do you know that what you did was rape? His face darkened for a moment. He retorted stubbornly, we're a couple, it's normal to do these things. People my age have already slept with who knows how many others. I've stayed pure for Gigi all this time. Isn't that proof enough of how much I love her? The change of heart value rose again from 25 to 30. Is that so, Jiang Sueya? Just because you're surrounded by rotten people doesn't mean you're any better. Gigi is your girlfriend. And putting aside the fact that she's about to take the college entrance exam soon, you should be considering her future. When it comes to matters like this, if she's unwilling, you can't force her. And besides, did you use any protection? Jiang Sueya was taken aback once again. Frowning, he defended himself. I came in too much of a hurry and forgot. It's not that big of a deal anyway. I sneered coldly. Oh really? If anything unexpected happens, she's the only one who'll get hurt. Not you. Harm doesn't cease to be harm just because you didn't mean to cause it. I'm warning you. If there's a next time, I'll call the police. After saying that, I took Bianji by the hand and got into my car. Then we drove off at high speed. Sitting in the passenger seat, Bianji spoke with great disappointment. Qingyun, you had reminded me that if anything were to happen, I must take protective measures, and I actually laughed at you. I thought he understood me, respected me, and would never force me, but you have no idea how terrified I was when he pinned me down just now, seeing the red streaks in his eyes. In that moment, I felt like I didn't know him at all. During the day, I knew I couldn't stop her from celebrating her birthday with Jiang Sueya, but I still wanted to protect her as much as possible, so I spoke up to remind her. I knew that Bianji genuinely liked Jiang Sueya, but this affection is mixed with the innocence of youth. Is it truly worth it? I don't want to persuade her to give up her relationship with Jiang Sueya. I just hope she can better protect herself and make the right decision. I don't want her to go down the path of pregnancy, abortion, and then failing the college entrance exam. Clearly, she could be heading toward a bright future. It's okay, Gigi. There's still time for everything. You did well, you protected yourself. You must remember, no matter who it is, even if it's someone you love, they cannot hurt you in the name of loving you. Her gaze turned to me, like sunlight dispersing the thick morning fog, slowly growing firm. Damn, what's going on? The more I look at this, the more wrong the colors seem. How did the orange situation become so favorable? I was about to say the same thing. What should I do if I'm starting to ship the female lead and the villainess? Tell my mom I'm not drinking the traditional Chinese medicine today. Is it possible that the female antagonist has always liked the female lead? She used the guise of being her best friend to get close to her, then acted like a green tea bitch to make the female lead see how immature the male lead is. Gradually becoming disappointed in him while growing more and more dependent on her. What should I do? This is too addictive. Yuri isn't bad either. I don't want to see that damn man anymore. How can you all be so fickle? No, I still firmly stand with the male and female leads as a BG couple. The male lead is just young and not mature enough. You can't dismiss his entire character over this one incident, right? That's outrageous. One incident, sis. he almost assaulted the female lead. Don't be such a male apologist. Watching the comments veer further off track and grow increasingly heated, I could only feel a headache coming on. From that day on, Bianji and Jiang Sueya started a cold war. Every time after class or on the way home from school, Bianji and I could see Jiang Sueya surrounded by a group of girls. He was rich, tall, and handsome, so it was natural that many girls admired him. In the past, Jiang Sueya would always reject them with righteous indignation. He says he only likes Bianji, he gives no one else a chance, but now, anyone with eyes can see that they've had a fight, and Jiang Sueya doesn't even think about reflecting on his own mistakes, still thinking of using other girls to provoke Bianji, to make her jealous and take the initiative to reconcile. Have to say, immature, and very irresponsible. So, Bianji's change of heart value slowly rose to 50. The night before the college entrance exam, I took Bianji out to relax by the river. Never expecting to run into Jiang Sueya and Jiang Wan there, I'd heard of Jiang Wan. She had also been hopelessly in love with Jiang Sueya for 3 years, one of his most devoted pursuers. Jiang Sueya had a cigarette in his mouth, his arm wrapped around Jiang Ruan's waist, saying sweet words, but his eyes drifted towards Bianji. Bianji tugged at my arm, her movements stiff, and whispered, "Qingyun, let's go quickly." I nodded, just about to leave, but was stopped by Jiang Sueya. "What's wrong?" "Ex-girlfriend, won't you even greet your ex-boyfriend when you see him?" Hearing this, Bianji raised her eyes and met his gaze, not the least bit intimidated. If it's an ex, then they should be no different from being dead. After saying that, Bianji pulled me forward, but we had only just started walking. From behind came the angry curses of Jiang Sueya. Jiang Wan was left alone. Jiang Sueya rode off on his motorcycle, leaving a trail of dust behind. She waited until the sound of the engine faded into the distance. Bianji's forced composure completely crumbled as she crouched on the ground, weeping helplessly. I didn't make a sound. I quietly stayed by her side, looking up at the moon hanging over the river. How long had it been since I last gazed upon this silvery white disk? I never expected that he would declare our relationship over without even saying a word to me. In his eyes, is our love really so worthless, Gigi? Do you think this moon is beautiful? She stared blankly at me, then followed my gaze to the moon hanging in the silent night sky, and then, I forgot about the sorrow too. I laughed. So beautiful. I held her hand, standing by the riverbank, looking up at the moon together. That's right, there are so many beautiful scenes in our lives. Why cry over things that aren't worth it? Bianji softly agreed. Change of heart value increased from 50 to 75. Don't miss the scenery of life for people or things that aren't worth it. On the way back, Bianji and I encountered Jiang Wan, who had been left behind. I invited her to get in the car. At first, she was stubborn and refused to get in the car. "This place is very remote. You can't get a taxi here, and tomorrow is the college entrance exam. What if it affects your performance?" She finally got into the car. She softly said thank you, then she tucked herself into the back seat like a quail. Not a word was spoken. The three of us remained silent the entire way. It was only when we were almost there that Jiang Wan suddenly spoke up to apologize to Bianji. "I'm sorry, Bianji. I thought he had already moved on from you during this time, and as long as I stayed by his side, I would have a chance, but the truth proves that the one he has always liked is you. I never really had a chance at all." Seeing her in low spirits, I added, "What's there to like about a man with no gentlemanly manners at all?" "Jiang Wan, Bianji, you're both wonderful girls. He's the one who doesn't deserve you." After exchanging a few glances, the three of us smiled knowingly at each other. What era is this, anyway? Who still loves female rivalry in women's literature? The audience has long stopped enjoying it. The more I watch, the more I dislike the male lead, and the more I like the female supporting character. What should I do? Me too. Why is the female supporting character so charming? I've fallen for her, and now I really ship her with the female lead. Exactly, it doesn't have to be romantic, but this kind of beautiful friendship where they help each other grow is also really enjoyable to ship. Who says female-oriented stories must have romance? As long as it's pure emotion, everyone loves to read it. Before entering the examination hall, I spoke words of encouragement. "Go for it, Bianji, I believe in you." She confidently raised a smile. After watching her enter the examination hall, I turned and went to another classroom. Although the original owner, Lin Qingyun, didn't have good grades and only got into this school because she liked Jiang Suiye and pestered her father to pull some strings, I still tried my best to answer the questions seriously. It's just that I'm the one suffering. The college entrance exam from 10 years ago is actually being experienced again in another vicious way. The 2-day exam is over. Outside the exam hall, Bianji rushed towards me excitedly. Qingyun, how did you do on the exam? I shrugged, just as so-so, but I did my best. She was grinning, and I knew she had it all figured out, everything falling into place. She and I turned to head back to school, but we ran into Jiang Suiye, who looked utterly exhausted. He looked full of remorse. When she saw him, Bianji's smile froze on her face, even though they had already broken up. But I knew that Bianji hadn't completely let go of him yet. I quietly walked to the corner, giving her enough space. From the time that incident happened until now, they haven't truly communicated with each other. Whether it's picking it up again or letting it go, it's something she has to experience herself. After a short while, Bianji came over and patted my shoulder. She said with a smile, "Let's go." When we got back, I asked her, "Is everything settled?" "Yeah, but you must still have feelings for him, right?" Bianji paused for a moment. After thinking for a while, she said, "Yes, but we're not right for each other. What happened at the hotel certainly disappointed me, but what truly made me give up was his behavior afterward. He clearly had many ways to resolve this issue, yet he chose to run away and even used such childish methods to provoke me. Completely disregarding my feelings, if only he had sincerely apologized to me after that, even just one sentence, I would have forgiven him, but now, he just told me he was wrong, that he regrets it. It's too late. I can't wait forever for a boy to grow up. Just like you said, my life requires enough effort just to possibly stand at the same height as him, but with his current mindset, it might take 10 years for him to truly understand my situation. 10 years, not entirely wrong. In the original novel, the male and female leads reunited 10 years after parting due to a misunderstanding, but, without Jiang Suiye, Bianji would never have taken so many detours. On the day the college entrance exam results were released, as expected, Bianji got into Tsinghua University as she wished. Jiang Suiye's results were even worse than what was described in the original book. As for me, although my grades were not outstanding either, they were still much better than those of the original Lin Qingyun. I couldn't help but sigh to the system about the lasting power of the Jiangsu College entrance exam. Even 10 years later, I could still achieve a decent score. In the end, at Bianji's strong insistence, I applied to a university in Beijing. However, what I was worried about was, the betrayal value has already reached 90. The time for me to leave may come very soon. After knowing each other for so long, in my heart, she is no longer just a cold character I need to complete a mission, but my good friend. I'm afraid, if I confess everything to her, will she hate me? If I don't confess, when the original owner returns, how will she perceive the changes in Lin Qingyun? After much deliberation, for a full month, I had no idea how to bring it up. That day, as soon as I stepped out, I was ready to go and confess to Bianji, but at the door, I saw Jiang Suiye, completely drunk. I was a bit confused. "Jiang Suiye, why are you at my door?" He suddenly stared at me intently. It sent chills down my spine. "You're not Lin Qingyun at all, are you?" My heart tightened. How did he know? I quickly denied it, but Jiang Suiye tightly grabbed my wrist. "Lin Qingyun used to like me a lot, but there's not a trace of affection in your eyes when you look at me. Besides, there's no way you could know so much. Who are you really? Where is the real Qingyun? And also, why are you going to such lengths to break up me and Bianji? What exactly are you after? Let go, you're hurting me." Seeing that he still wouldn't let go, I lifted my foot and kicked him hard in the crotch. As soon as he cried out in pain, I immediately fled to the lit area by the door, ready to open it and go home at any moment. Jiang Suiye took a long moment to steady himself before rising to his feet. Step by step, he slowly drew closer. His tone was icy. "Tell me, what exactly is your purpose?" I sneered. "Jiang Suiye, I have never tried to break you and Bianji apart. Wasn't it you yourself who pushed her further and further away?" He instinctively denied it. "How could that be? I love her, how could I possibly push her further away? At the beginning, I reminded you that she was about to take the college entrance exam. But what about you? What were you doing during those days when you didn't look for her, if you really cared about her? Shouldn't you have worked hard too, at least letting her know you were willing to change for her? But instead, you were either drinking or clubbing. On Gigi's birthday, when I pulled her aside, I didn't tell her to reject you, I just said that if you were going to be intimate, she should remember to take protective measures. I have never interfered with your relationship. The question is, have you truly respected her? You keep saying you love her. But your love is nothing more than superficial possession and enjoyment. Have you considered what would happen if she got pregnant, if it affected her college entrance exams, and how her future would unfold? Of course, you haven't. You only think about yourself. Of course, your parents are wealthy, your family background is excellent, and you've never had to worry about your future path. But she is different, Jiang Sueya. The consequences of your actions ultimately fall on her. How can you claim to love her? Even in the original story, it took BNG 10 years of hard work to barely reach a position where she could stand side by side with Jiang Sueya, giving her the leverage to enter the Jiang family. In the end, they ended up together, but the hardships she had endured, who truly felt sorry for her? My words, each and every one, pierced his heart like an awl. With every word he spoke, his face grew paler. You've never experienced giving your all and gaining nothing in return, nor have you ever struggled desperately just to survive. You will never understand how bitter life can truly be. As he spoke these words, I thought of my mother, who had passed away from illness. Since I was young, my father has been irresponsible. He wasn't a bad person, just an ordinary father from the countryside. He'd have a few drinks, gamble a little, and occasionally take his anger out on my mother and me. Yet everyone around us praised him as an honest, good man, because everyone around us was the same. The only thing he did well was not favor sons over daughters. He never opposed my going to school. The family was too poor, and my father had no ambition, spending his days in the chess and card room, puffing away on cigarettes. My mother's brow was never free from worry. She always hoped I could break free and find my own path in the world. To earn money, she toiled under the scorching summer sun, planting rice in other people's fields. She worked from 5 in the morning until 9 at night, bitten by mosquitoes until her skin was covered in countless welts, and after several days, she managed to earn a few hundred yuan. She was very happy, but then my father lost it all in a single day of gambling. When I was in middle school, she rented a tiny room of just over 10 square meters to help with my studies, barely enough for a bed and a desk. She would go to the county town to sell fruits and vegetables, waking up before dawn to stock up and haul them to the market. After class, when school was out, my mother would come to pick me up. She sold vegetables while I studied. I will always remember the smell of raw meat in that market, as if it had soaked into the soul. I once vowed to study hard and take good care of my mother in the future. But just after I graduated from college, she fell ill. In fact, she had been sick for a long time. She just kept it from me, not daring to let me know. When the doctor confirmed it, I held the test results, staring at the word late stage, and couldn't stop the tears. She even complained, "You shouldn't have wasted that money." I'm fine, perfectly fine, but my father said that she often couldn't sleep at night because of the pain. To treat her illness, I borrowed from all my relatives until everyone started avoiding me at the sight of me. I also used credit cards to withdraw a lot of money. I never thought about how much debt I would end up with. I only thought about how she had never lived a single day for herself in her entire life. No matter what I have to give, I must keep her, even if it's just one more day. But in the end, mother still left. Before she left, she was already too ill to eat. She had always been thinking about that bite of the town's braised delicacy that she never got to taste. When I was a child, she would always save the meat for my father and me. She said she didn't like eating meat. After my mother died, I began to repay my debts. Every day, it was nothing but earning money, and more money. I was so busy I was turned upside down. On a very ordinary day, while I was on the subway to work, everything went black before my eyes, and I collapsed to the ground. I ended up here. I've endured such hardships, and so has BNG, but as a wealthy young master, Jiang Sueya would never understand. How much effort must we put in to change the course of our lives? He couldn't understand, because there is no true empathy in this world. Jiang Sueya fell into a frenzy. He pulled out a dagger and charged at me. Shut up, you're not Lin Qingyun at all. It's all your fault that Gigi and I have ended up like this, terrified. I flung the door open and rushed inside to hide. Help, in the courtyard, the driver uncle who had been working for my father for years, a burly man standing 185 centimeters tall, heard my cries for help and rushed over, quickly subduing him. Even so, he kept cursing at me. I shook my head, sighing. I dialed the police. When the police arrived, I handed over the surveillance footage from the entrance directly to them. After the statement was recorded, the police took Jiang Sueya away. They also told me they would notify me as soon as there was any news. I was extremely grateful. Damn, the male lead has gone crazy. I can't believe I was rooting for him all along. I feel disgusted for ever supporting you. He's not even worthy of being the male lead. I knew from the start he was no good. Sure enough, he's long been unworthy of our female lead baby. Gigi belongs to Qingyun. Support. Early the next morning, I received a phone call from Bianji. I only then found out that she had rushed over as soon as she learned I had almost gotten hurt, and now, the change of heart value has finally reached 100. The system tells me, mission accomplished, I can leave this world at any time. I hesitated for a moment, told him to wait for me a while. I need to say goodbye to Bianji. As soon as he saw me, Bianji anxiously checked me for injuries, and only breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that I was truly unharmed. Then, with red-rimmed eyes, he apologized to me. I'm sorry, Qingyun, if it weren't for me, Jiang Sueya would never have come after you or tried to hurt you. It's all my fault. I shook my head, holding her hand. It's not your fault, it's his. He's too paranoid, and besides, I'm perfectly fine. Don't blame yourself. However, I also have something to confess to you. I took a deep breath. Under her earnest gaze, I told her everything, including what happened to me in reality, how I got here, and what my mission was. Now that the mission is complete, I have to leave. I'm sorry, you must hate me for lying to you. You'll never forgive me, will you? I was cautious, my voice growing softer and softer. I didn't even dare to look up at her. I was afraid to see her accusing, resentful gaze. For a long time, she didn't say a word, until I thought she really wasn't going to pay any more attention to me. I looked up, ready to continue begging for her forgiveness, but I saw tears streaming down her face. She threw herself tightly into my arms. Qingyun, no matter who you are, in my heart, you will always be my dear sister. No matter where you go, I will forever and always miss you and bless you. To say I don't resent you would be a lie, but I know you were forced into it. What's more, you never once hurt me. Everything you did was to protect me. How could I possibly blame you? In an instant, my heart was filled with a sour, swelling emotion. I didn't know what to say. Thank you, Gigi. No matter where we are, we must be happy. She nodded vigorously. That day, we stayed out all night. I drove her to Shanghai Disneyland, where we played for a long time and took many photos, one for you, one for me. I held tightly in my hand the photo of the two of us, amidst the sky full of fireworks. Our smiles shone brighter than the sparks. Wow, no wonder the female supporting character changed so much. She's actually a transmigrator. Her mission is to seduce the male lead and achieve a change of heart value. Luckily, our clever female supporting character is smart. I love her even more. Female supporting character, falling for me is as easy as breathing. Woo woo, I don't want them to be apart. It's okay, even though they will exist in different worlds from now on. As long as they can remember each other, this bond will last forever. Woo woo. When I started reading, no one told me the female lead and the supporting female character would be so shippable. What if I become gay? I just gave my bestie a hard kiss, and the weirdest part is she actually enjoyed it. Has she been plotting something with me all along? Go on with the details upstairs. I've got my snacks ready. To the one above the one upstairs, rest your heart in your hemorrhoids. She definitely has ulterior motives towards you. Jiang Sueya was sued by my parents for the crime of intentional injury. The Jiang family spent a lot of money trying to settle the matter privately, but my parents did not agree. He must be sent to prison. It was clear that they truly loved their daughter. I was truly envious. The original Lin Qingyun had parents who loved her so much. I've had it too. Host, are you ready to leave? I nodded, then closed my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself waking up in a hospital bed. The surrounding voices gradually grew louder. I had truly returned to the real world. I instinctively looked at my hand. Before leaving, I tightly held on to that group photo. I wanted to bring the photo of me and Bianji with me, but it seems I didn't succeed. A sense of loss welled up in her heart. Suddenly, a little girl spoke up in a childish voice. "Big sister, you dropped something." She raised her small hand. In it was unmistakably that group photo. I was overjoyed. While saying thank you, I took the group photo and looked at it over and over again. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in my ear. "Xiaoxue, you're finally awake. You almost scared your mother to death." I looked up in disbelief. My mother, who had already passed away, was now standing before me, looking anxious. I stared at her in a daze. Tears filled my eyes. Was it a dream? I pinched myself, and it hurt. "Why are you crying? Are you in pain somewhere?" "Yes, it's true." I instinctively threw myself into my mother's arms. There was body warmth. It was the familiar scent of my mother. I sniffled. "It's okay. It doesn't hurt. I'm just too happy." "Silly child. How can you be happy when you're sick in bed?" Mom turned around to pour me some chicken soup. I'm still puzzled by all of this. I picked up my phone, wanting to see if all those debts I owe are still there. Strangely enough, it's gone too. Just as I was feeling perplexed, the system spoke. "Congratulations, host. On completing the task, the reward is to fulfill one of your wishes." The system detected that the host's most desired wish is for the mother's health and safety. The wish has been fulfilled, wishing the host a happy and harmonious family life. By the way, remember to give a 5-star rating. I can finally take Mom to eat the braised pork she's always been reluctant to spend money on. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After the redemption story's female lead appeared, I returned the well-trained male lead to her. The once wild and unruly youth had grown into an elegant gentleman. With their perfect match in talent and beauty, there was naturally no place left for me. I lied to him, saying I was going to buy osmanthus cakes from the north of the city, and then I left without looking back. But unexpectedly, 2 years later, I was invited to return to the country. Just after getting off the plane, I was forced into a car. "Sister," his voice was tinged with madness. "It's been 2 years, where's my osmanthus cake?" "Sister," someone was knocking at the door. I opened my eyes, but my mind was still lingering in the dream I just had. Su Jinan pushed the door open and came in. "Why aren't you awake yet? Didn't you rest well last night?" I instinctively tightened my grip on the blanket and said coldly, "How could you just come in like that?" The young man paused in his movements. "Sorry, I'll leave now." He left behind a cup of hot milk. Meanwhile, I rubbed my head as I got out of bed and poured the milk into the sink without hesitation. The milk was thick and viscous, taking its time to drain away. 14-year-old Su Jinan was already quite skilled at pretending. At this time, he most enjoyed testing his newly developed medicines on people. This is a story of redemption within a wealthy family. As the male lead, Su Jinan was beaten and scolded by his parents since childhood, leading to a tragic upbringing that resulted in a deranged personality. Though he appeared gentle and refined on the surface, and I am the adopted daughter of the Su family, his non-blood-related sister. We met again after growing up and were arranged to live together. The first time we met, he prepared flowers for me, but that very night, a venomous snake emerged from the flowers. "Where did you catch that venomous snake?" At the breakfast table, I asked the question as if making casual conversation. Su Jinan's expression remained unchanged, his demeanor calm. "What are you talking about, sister? I don't understand." He is 4 years younger than me, but a bit taller. As he said this, he blinked, looking completely innocent. I smiled, got up, and went to the kitchen to bring a pot of soup. "You're right, you're still young. This is the soup I made this morning, to nourish you." As I spoke, I served him a bowl. "Thank you, sister." Su Jinan smiled very sweetly. Golden-rimmed glasses, peach blossom eyes, a straight nose, and thin lips. His features, though not yet fully matured, were already strikingly handsome. I watched him take a sip of soup and suddenly smiled. "The glasses suit you." He paused. "Are you complimenting me, sis?" I continued smiling. "They make you look very well behaved." Su Jinan, let me ask you a question. Is soup made from a venomous snake poisonous? The next second, he overturned the soup bowl in his hand. The steaming hot soup spilled all over the floor, with some splashing onto him. I feigned surprise. How could you be so careless? Are you burned? No. Su Jinan took a deep breath, seemingly holding something back. Thank you. I'll go change my clothes. You can eat by yourself, then. He stomped upstairs in a huff. I sat at the dining table, sighing with a smile, idly playing with the soup spoon. As expected, he's still young and can't hide his feelings. He likes studying medicine, so how come he doesn't even know that snake stew isn't poisonous? My school is very close to Su Jinan's. I attend University A, and he goes to the affiliated high school of University A, therefore, we usually go to school together. Hurry up and get on, you're going to be late. I waved at him from the car, and the dark ferocity on Su Jinan's face flashed by before it returned to that gentle, harmless look. We sat in the back seat. The driver had already raised the partition, unable to see what was happening behind. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught the fading smile on Su Jinan's lips and couldn't help but curl my own. Brother Jinan, I suddenly leaned close to him and whispered, you still have much to learn. His lips were pressed into a tight line. Probably wondering how I could have seen his true nature, I pulled out a snake-shaped brooch and tossed it into his hand, smiling, you're still young, you can't hide your tail. I had awakened the day before my meeting with Su Jinan. Through the dream, I learned the entire plot, because it's a redemption story. Su Jinan was beaten and abused since childhood, had a tragic upbringing, and bullying me and stirring up all kinds of trouble were standard for him, before meeting the female lead. He would turn the family upside down until she saw through his disguise and redeemed him. But unfortunately, I am the modern-day parent. What kind of madness, mental illness, all are treated as disobedience. A child's mood is always bad, mostly it's just an act. A good beating will fix it. The next day, Su Jinan's look at me changed. Like a snake that was originally lying in wait, it began to cautiously observe its prey, preparing to strike. Come, let's eat. I still smiled with my eyes curved like crescents. Jinan, that soup yesterday was too unexpected. I've decided not to make it anymore, so don't look at me so warily. You're not afraid of snakes. He snorted coldly and sat down. I continued to stare at him with a smile. Sis here isn't afraid of anything, really. Su Jinan's face remained expressionless. Then I'll test them one by one to see what you're afraid of. All right. I lowered my gaze and suddenly said something completely unrelated. Back in the orphanage, it wasn't just snakes on the bed. There were centipedes, cockroaches, slugs, you name it. Your family has been so good to me. It's been a long time since I've seen any of those bugs. Now's a good chance for me to see if I'm still afraid of them. Mr. Su and Mrs. Su were both very busy. Their marriage was one of family alliance, two hearts living under the same roof but worlds apart, each prioritizing their own interests. Su Jinan was one of their few shared interests, and I was the one they trusted to take care of him, so I wasn't surprised at all when I received a call from Su Jinan's homeroom teacher. Hello, is this Su Jinan's sister? What surprised me was the homeroom teacher's earnest tone. This child beat up a classmate and sent them to the hospital, which alarmed the school leadership. He will face disciplinary action. To be honest, Su Jinan was quite good at pretending. Since childhood, he had always been an honor student, praised by both teachers and classmates with words like gentle and refined, and mature and steady. Even if this little viper really couldn't stand someone and poisoned them to develop a rash, it had never been discovered before, but this time was different. Why did you hit your classmate? In the office stood only Su Jinan. The classmate he had beaten had already been taken to the hospital. I saw his photo. His face was bruised and swollen, and his body looked even worse. It was clear that the beating was meant to be fatal. The homeroom teacher slammed the desk and shouted, "Do you realize that if you had hit him any harder, you could have killed him?" Su Jinan remained motionless, only glancing at us expressionlessly. That look sent an inexplicable chill down our spines. It was a side of him I had never seen before. The homeroom teacher was about to continue venting his anger, but in the very next second, I stood up, my actions faster than my thoughts. "Teacher, let me talk to him alone. There must be some misunderstanding. Our Su Jinan is not such a violent person. Why did you hit someone?" This was the third time I had asked him this question. Su Jinan still didn't speak, turning his head to look outside with a rather cold expression. Ineffective communication. I was so angry at this rebellious little brat. Not going to talk, huh? Then do whatever you want. I'm leaving. You'd better make it back alive from your parents. Soo Jinan's parents were extremely strict with him. Getting first place in exams all year round was just the bare minimum, not to mention following rules and laws. The slightest dissatisfaction would lead to Soo Jinan being beaten half to death. I held my forehead, silently thinking to myself. Why wasn't he beaten to death on the spot? Are you worried about me? Soo Jinan suddenly spoke, looking down at me with an inexplicably docile expression. Shouldn't you be wishing for my death? I was taken aback. That being said, he was only 14 years old after all. Growing up with that kind of upbringing, it's already impressive enough that he could pretend to be a good student. If I really wanted you dead, I would have told your parents long ago. I sighed and said, besides, you've stopped throwing poisonous insects into my room, haven't you? The next day, I took Soo Jinan to the school again. The homeroom teacher's anger hadn't subsided yet, and it ended up affecting me too. What exactly is going on? Is Soo Jinan going to apologize or not? Where are his parents? Why is it always you coming? What good are you? That classmate is still in the hospital getting an 4 drip right now. Soo Jinan's hands suddenly clenched into fists. I noticed and reached out to hold his hand, soothingly stroking it, but failed to notice how his body stiffened slightly. Teacher, you should be glad he's currently on an 4 drip. I smiled gently, yet pushed a USB drive toward them. If it were me, I might have beaten the student half to death. On the USB drive was a recording made by a female classmate who witnessed the entire incident. After school, Soo Jinan stayed behind for cleaning duty when that student came to pick a fight. Oh. Playing the saint today, are you? Finally decided to clean up yourself. We were just saying, you fatherless, motherless thing, you were born to be beaten by cleaning tools, weren't you? The Soo couple kept a low profile. Not only did they not send Soo Jinan to a private school, but they never showed their faces either. The clothes they gave him were old, and the tasks they set were extremely strict. If he failed to complete them, he'd get a beating. Over time, rumors spread at school that he had no parents. Fighting is Soo Jinan's sore spot. The homeroom teacher's face turned red and green in quick succession. I just held Soo Jinan's hand and said coldly, I demand that you, that student, and his parents all publicly apologize to Soo Jinan. Don't say I didn't warn you. Our Soo family has money, keeps a low profile, but holds grudges. Lin Shi, Soo Jinan knocked on the door. I didn't even turn my head. Come in, is there something? He held a few white roses still glistening with dew, stammering slightly, the roses in the garden have bloomed, so I cut some for you to put in the vase in your room. I raised an eyebrow and turned to look at him. Soo Jinan placed the flowers into the vase. The white blossoms looked quite beautiful. Why aren't you calling me sister anymore? I suddenly spoke up. I remember when I first arrived, you used to call me sister every time you spoke. Soo Jinan looked utterly bewildered. I laughed again. And why aren't there any poisonous snakes hidden in today's flowers? Stop tormenting the snakes in the garden. They're quite pitiful, being harassed by you all day. The young man had never learned the meaning of apology. Fresh roses in the room, steaming hot milk on the dining table, and even a mysterious black card that had inexplicably appeared in his bag. Keep it for yourself. I threw the black card on the table. Your parents only gave it to you. And it inexplicably ended up with me. What would they think if they saw it? Soo Jinan lowered his head slightly to look at me, pursed his lips, looking very well behaved. I sighed. I'm not holding a grudge over what happened before. I didn't say I was apologizing either. Teenagers are always saying one thing but meaning another. He stammered a bit while saying this, acting all tsundere and adorable. After that, he added one more sentence. If you don't buy some nicer clothes, you won't even look like part of our family. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So that afternoon, I went to the mall. Just as I was almost done shopping, someone suddenly tapped me on the shoulder. It was a cute girl, not stunningly beautiful, but somehow impossible to look away from. Hello, her smile carried a hint of scrutiny. Miss Supporting Character, may I ask how my dear Jinan is doing under your tutelage? Returning him to you, I returned home with a pile of bags and tossed the black card onto the desk. Soo Jinan didn't pick it up but instead looked up at the spoils of war behind me. Do all women shop this much when they go out? I raised an eyebrow. What? Worried about the money? No. He averted his gaze, his tones suddenly softening. You didn't bring a bodyguard, if you couldn't carry everything. You could have taken someone along to help you. How did you know I didn't bring a bodyguard? Su Jinan paused mid-sentence. I couldn't help but laugh and ruffled his hair. Next time you go shopping, take me along to help you carry things. The awkward teenager turned his head away and said stiffly, let's talk about it next time. Su Jinan is actually still a child at heart. How bad can a child who is truly loved really be? The next day, I received a call from the homeroom teacher. After learning Su Jinan's true identity, he became noticeably more polite. I have already explained the previous misunderstanding to that student's parents. After discussion, we decided to publicly apologize to student Su Jinan during today's flag-raising ceremony. Would you have time to attend on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Su? At that moment, Su Jinan was listening expressionlessly beside me. I smiled and said, all right, I'll be there. He's being so polite to you. Was there something else on that USB drive you gave him the other day? He asked. I slowly put down my phone and sighed. So clever, Jinan, your homeroom teacher, that snob, must have given you a hard time before. So I also found evidence of him privately accepting red envelopes from parents and backed it up on the USB drive as leverage against him. Su Jinan remained silent for about half a minute. Just when I thought he wouldn't speak, a warm touch suddenly came from the top of my head. Got it, he said, deliberately messing up my hair as if to get back at me for patting his head earlier. Stop calling me little brother all the time. During the flag-raising ceremony, Su Jinan and I stood at the very front. He was wearing the new clothes I bought for him, looking clean and handsome, yet exuding an aloofness that kept people at a distance. On the stage, that classmate was reading the apology letter meant for him. After finishing, he even bowed. As if Su Jinan were some important leader. Thanks to you, future Mr. Su, I teased in a low voice. Su Jinan didn't say a word, but his hand restlessly tugged at the bunny ears on my hoodie. My heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively glanced toward the audience below. That glance was a mistake. No classmates had noticed us, but someone else had. Hi, the female lead I met at the mall that day was standing at the very edge. Beaming with a smile, she mouthed the words, Lin Shi, well done, then. She turned and walked away. The days passed by in a quiet, uneventful manner. Like every high school student, Su Jinan had very few days off and often stayed up late doing homework at home. Occasionally, I would catch him sneaking off to tinker in the basement where he mixed his potions. If you're up to anything that threatens public safety again, I'll have the police confiscate all this junk of yours. I blocked Su Jinan at the door and threatened him. By this time, he was almost an adult. Standing a full head taller than me, looking down at me with no sign of remorse. I was wrong, he said it very seriously. His hand had somehow grabbed the hem of my clothes. Bend down a bit, I said, feeling inexplicably awkward. I can't hear you. Su Jinan obediently leaned down. The distance closed instantly. His eyes were fixed intently on me, and without his glasses, they seemed to carry a certain aggression. But the next second, I suddenly pulled him over, our noses touching. He was caught off guard, Lin Shi, but I didn't respond. I pulled open his clothes. What happened to this bruise here? Su Jinan was already in his third year of high school. It had been over 2 years since I met the female lead. Is that the male lead's black card in your hand? He treats you this well. That time in the mall, she asked me, according to the plot, shouldn't he be tormenting you to the brink of death? And what about you? Why have you appeared so early? I watched her warily. Taking a few steps back to create some distance, the female lead is named Fu Shi, just as described in the book. She has an innocent appearance, though not as strikingly beautiful as the female supporting character. She carries an aura of her own, drawing attention wherever she goes. Of course, it's because I've awakened too. Fu Shi smiled sweetly, yet I inexplicably found it hard to get close to her. Lin Shi, she enunciated each word with emphasis. I have no interest in dealing with a rebellious teenager. I looked up. What do you want to do? Oh, don't be so guarded, she giggled. You know the plot can't be reversed. We all have to follow it. Su Jinan will belong to me eventually, and you can't change your fate as the supporting female character either. Since that's the case, your task is to teach him well on my behalf, and in doing so, repay the Su family. Su Jinan began avoiding me. He refused to talk about the bruises on his body. My attempts to press him for answers proved futile, and for a while, I was at a loss for what to do. We fell into a cold war, until one day, I received a phone call. The voice on the other end felt familiar, sweet yet hollow. Fu Shi laughed through the receiver. It's been 2 years, let's meet, Lin Shi. I never really knew who Fu Shi was, other than the fact that she is the female lead. I am the supporting female character. And she appears to be around the same age as us. I know nothing about her, on the contrary, she knows me very well. Why haven't I seen you go back to the orphanage? Winter had long since arrived. The waiter brought over the hot coffee, and Fu Shi blew on her cup before leisurely asking me, or do you really think that after spending a few years with the Su family, you can turn into a phoenix by flying up a branch? None of your business. I said coldly. She laughed. You know nothing about me. Fu Shi had a better grasp of the plot than I did. She not only knew my background but also appeared right after I had dealt with Su Jinan, assigning me a task. I truly didn't understand her. Then are you so certain that Su Jinan will obey your every command? Fu Shi suddenly burst into laughter. She set down her coffee, her eyes curving into a smile. If he doesn't fall for me, the female lead, then who should he fall for? You? After 2 weeks of giving Su Jinan the cold shoulder, I finally found the time to go back home. I decided to test the waters and ask about his relationship status. Since this is a redemption story, when the female lead's task of redeeming him falls on me, the entire narrative should change. The factor that drives the story's change is the protagonist's inclination. I don't believe a book with awakened characters can still follow a predetermined path, but I'm also uncertain whether he feels, beep beep beep, beep beep beep. I waited until dark, but Su Jinan still hadn't come back. I called 3 times, but no one answered. With less than half a year left until the college entrance exams, even if he was on duty, he would usually come home early to study. Today is not right. I thought of the bruises on his body again, grabbed the keys, and intended to go to school to find him. Bang, but the next second, the door was smashed open as if by some heavy object. I stood at the stairwell, frozen in place the moment I clearly saw the dark figure behind the door. It was Su Jinan. The one who had just smashed through the door was Su Jinan, who had been kicked by Mr. Su and sent crashing into it. Blood trickled from the corner of his lips, his face pale as he lay almost powerless on the ground. I didn't have time to rush forward and help him up. Then I saw Fu Shi running out from behind Mr. Su. She covered her mouth, looking like a helpless little white flower. Please calm down, Jinan didn't mean to do it. I don't know what happened. I only remember Fu Shi's fragile and pitiful posture, and Su Jinan lying on the ground, barely breathing. When Su Jinan woke up again, he was in the hospital. You're awake. Su Jinan slept for a full day and night. His left hand was fractured, his body covered in bruises, and when he opened his eyes, there was still a lingering haze in them, as if he might shatter at any moment. I held his hand, but my own hand trembled uncontrollably for some reason, repeatedly checking on his condition. I'll go call the nurse. Don't cry. Su Jinan's fingertip brushed past the corner of my eye, wiping away a trace of moisture. I hadn't even realized I'd started crying. Haven't you always disliked people who cry? I turned my head away, sniffled, and said, You're mistaken. He chuckled, then winced with a sharp hiss as the movement tugged at his wounds. I pressed the call button by the bed and waited for the nurse to arrive before asking him with difficulty, what on earth happened? My conversation with Fu Shi that day ended with her displeasure. Before leaving, she left behind these words, even if he falls in love with someone else, he can only choose me. It's impossible to defy the plot. What I thought was the plot were the forced coincidences in the book, but I never expected that Fu Shi would be the most satisfactory marriage candidate for Mr. Su. Are you still feeling unwell anywhere? After the nurse left, I poured Su Jinan a cup of warm water and fed him a little with a spoon. His eyes were sparkling, fixed intently on me. Will you always feed me like this whenever I get hurt? For some reason, I felt his gaze was somewhat fervent. That sentence also carried a strange undertone. Yes, I pursed my lips, but you'd better not get hurt. It pains me to see it. Su Jinan seemed not to have expected me to answer like that, visibly freezing for a moment. I sighed and fed him another bite. Why didn't you tell me that classmate wasn't mistaken? He didn't say a word. I pretended to be angry, still not telling me. Do I have to wait until I see you beaten to a pulp by your dad before you'll say it? The atmosphere fell silent for 2 seconds before he finally spoke. That bastard took photos of you and spread rumors. I never imagined that Soo Jinan would be because of me. That classmate wasn't convinced, but he also realized he couldn't push back too hard, so he figured out he could use me. He photoshopped your picture onto those little cards and threatened me, saying if I didn't kneel to him, he'd distribute them everywhere. Because after the public apology, the whole school knows you're at University A. I know exactly how damaging this kind of thing can be for a girl. Even though we know the truth, I didn't want you to suffer even the slightest harm, because you're my sister. So for over 2 years, Soo Jinan had been enduring silently for my sake, hiding his injuries even when he was hurt. It wasn't until a few days ago when he finally smashed that person's phone and destroyed the USB drive containing my backed-up photos that he found liberation. He beat that person up and used chemicals from the basement to intimidate him. Originally, it was a flawless plan. For some reason, Mr. Soo found out. He smashed up the basement and beat Soo Jinan until his bones were broken. With only 1 month left until the college entrance exam, Soo Jinan had to study in the hospital and went straight to take the exam. His hand wouldn't recover before the exam, but fortunately, it was his left hand that was injured, not his right. When I pushed open the hospital room door, Soo Jinan wasn't there. Through the window, I saw Fu Shi pushing him in the garden below, basking in the sun. Soo Jinan was smiling. The atmosphere between the two seemed quite pleasant. My heart inexplicably tightened, and I turned my head away. Lin Shi, Mr. Soo. I quickly turned back and greeted in a low voice. What brings you here? Not busy, just came to have a look. Mr. Soo appeared refined and scholarly, a stark contrast to his violent demeanor that day. We stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the two figures in the garden below. You haven't been around these past few days. Fu Shi has been taking good care of him. Mr. Soo suddenly spoke up. The Fu family's youngest daughter has a pleasant personality and a silver tongue. Far more agreeable than that boy. They actually make a good match. I plan to arrange their engagement once Jinan graduates. I lowered my gaze and nodded. Indeed, you've spent so much time with Jinan. Now that he's graduating, it's a good time for you to prepare to study abroad. Lin Shi, you know that both my wife and I hold you in high regard. The future of the Soo family will need you, but Jinan does not. The words hit the nail on the head. Mr. Soo actually knew everything. He was just reminding me. All right, I understand. After he left, I kept watching Fu Shi and Soo Jinan in the garden. They both wore faint smiles on their faces. He seemed to have never been gentle with any girl other than me. So this is the female lead. The college entrance exam ended quickly. On the day it ended, I brought a bouquet of flowers to pick him up. Lin Shi, Soo Jinan's left hand was inconvenient, but it didn't stop him from hugging me. The young man carried a clean scent of lemon. He smiled and took the flowers from my hand, looking happier than ever. Shall we go eat? Does he know he's going to get engaged after the college entrance exam ends? I froze for a moment as my phone screen suddenly lit up. It was Fu Shi. She said, the flight is at 5 in the afternoon. I'll see you off. It's fine. He definitely doesn't know that I'll be leaving right after the college entrance exams are over. Lin Shi, why are you spacing out again? This is the third time Soo Jinan has asked me this question. Throughout the meal, I kept spacing out. Sorry, I said, pouring a glass of water and lying without changing my expression. I didn't rest well last night. Why? Worried about your college entrance exams. Soo Jinan smiled. He seemed particularly happy today, happier than any day before. Then you can sleep well tonight. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. To catch the flight, Fu Shi asked me to leave by 3 o'clock. We quickly finished our meal and stood on the street. Because we both stood out in appearance, people frequently glanced our way. Young man, your girlfriend is so pretty. Would you like to buy her a flower? An elderly flower seller approached us. I was taken aback and hadn't even had time to refuse when Soo Jinan paid for it. Just one will do. Thank you. Before I knew it, I was holding a white rose, still wet with dew. Just one. I thought with all this fanfare, he would have bought the whole bunch without hesitation. But Soo Jinan just shook his head with a smile. Just one. I only need one. Soo Jinan was very happy today, even though I didn't know why he was so happy. Lin Shi, let's go to Baiyuan today. I'll go buy you something to eat. I interrupted first. Soo Jinan stopped smiling. Didn't we just finish eating? I'd been wanting to try the osmanthus cake from that shop in the north of the city for a long time. I smiled at him, holding his arm and pleading softly, I've always wanted you to try it. I'd been thinking about it for so long, and I want it to be today. Perhaps I was moved by the feigned sincerity I displayed. Su Jinan pursed his lips and nodded. It was 2:55 at that moment. Turning my head and looking through the building across the street, I spotted that car by the roadside. In the driver's seat sat Fu Shi, clutching a white rose tightly in my hand. I got into the car. Fu Shi glanced at me. You can only take away one rose. I didn't make a sound. I just leaned back in the seat, slowly covering my eyes with the flowers. As the worthless female supporting character in this redemption story, a single rose was already enough to buy out these 3 years between him and me. I majored in finance-related subjects. Although Mr. Su was a violent man, his status and financial resources allowed me to complete my studies smoothly and graduate from a world-renowned institution. 5 years had passed by then. I finally had time to go to the bank and check the card that had been consistently receiving deposits. This is the card Mr. Su gave me for living expenses abroad, but I hardly ever used it. I always earned my own money through odd jobs and wouldn't take from it unless absolutely necessary. It wasn't until today that I realized no money had been deposited into this card for a long time. Can you check which domestic bank made the last deposit into this card? The bank's trusted employee is Chinese. He joked with me, you have time to check where the wire transfers come from, but no time to go back and visit. In the 5 years I've been abroad, I've never gone back even once. Not only that, but to completely break free from Su Jinan and Fu Shi's destined romance as the male and female leads, I even changed my phone number and deleted all their contact information. This is all Mr. Su's intention, to put it bluntly. Aside from this card, it seems I have no ties with the Su family. Mr. Su's intention back then was that when the time came, he would send someone abroad to inform me to return. He drove me out for the sake of Su Jinan and Fu Shi's relationship. They brought me back to get their money's worth from the investment they made in me. But now, I haven't even received a single notification. I decided to buy a plane ticket and return home. 5 years have passed. Su Jinan should have graduated from university by now, and after getting engaged, he probably got married right after graduation. Fu Shi skipped the redemption phase and directly achieved a happy ending with him, and at this time, I returned, truly becoming Su Jinan's sister, his helper. While packing my things, the landlady asked me, bringing so much, are you still coming back? I thought for a moment and replied, I'm going back, but I also want them to come with me and see the land of our homeland. As I spoke, I tossed a small bottle inside. Inside the bottle was a stack of dried flower petals. It was the rose that Su Jinan gave me 5 years ago. Are you all right, ma'am? As soon as I got off the plane, I rushed to the restroom to throw up. I get airsick, so even when I'm abroad, I rarely go out. Forget about dating. I hardly even socialize. I waved my hand. It's fine, thank you, dragging my luggage out of the airport. I stood by the roadside struggling for a long time, still unable to figure out how to use the local ride-hailing apps. Beep beep, a taxi pulled over. I was getting so irritated that I just got in the car. Where to? Su Corporation Tower. Do you know the way? Because of my motion sickness, I kept my eyes closed and rested along the way. I just got in the car and noticed a white rose placed inside. This made me instinctively glance at the driver through the rearview mirror. He seemed quite young, wearing a black baseball cap and a black mask, and didn't speak much. Aside from his first words, he didn't say anything else. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes to rest, until the car came to a stop. I opened my eyes, and the noise from the road had completely vanished from my ears. My heart skipped a beat. The surroundings outside the car felt strangely familiar. The suburbs, a villa, with a view of the golf course in the backyard. We're here. At that moment, I seemed to sense something. I turned my head and looked toward the driver's seat. The young man who had removed his hat and mask had very pale skin, which made his eyes appear even redder. Sister, why are you only coming back now? My mind went completely blank. I never thought I would reunite with Su Jinan in this way, so suddenly. I had long hypnotized myself many times. I am the supporting female character in this book. I redeemed the male lead for Fu Shi, fulfilled her mission, and repaid the Su family's kindness. So when she appeared again, I stepped aside to achieve their happy ending, concluding this book, yet I never considered what would happen after the story ended. Where's the osmanthus cake you mentioned? Su-Jinan forced a smile. The one in the northern part of the city closed down before my college entrance exams. He even came looking for me. For a moment, I didn't know what to do. I turned my head away, thinking I could ignore his red-rimmed eyes. Don't cry. That's what Su-Jinan said to me the day he woke up after being beaten unconscious, yet after abandoning him, I came back only to make him cry again. Su-Jinan, enough. He suddenly got out of the car, then he yanked open my car door, pulled something out from behind his back, and rather roughly dragged me out. Click. His right hand was handcuffed, the other end locked around Su-Jinan's wrist. His voice still carried a sob. Lin Shi, don't you dare think of leaving a second time in this lifetime. It was all so sudden. Even after sitting in my old bedroom, I still felt a sense of unreality. A red mark circled my right wrist, left by the handcuffs from earlier. Su-Jinan saw it and immediately unlocked them, then angrily threw the handcuffs into the trash. Bad things. He was cursing at the handcuffs. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but when I saw him, I felt my nose sting with emotion. He had grown taller. 5 years was enough to shape a boy into a man. Su-Jinan's hair was a bit shorter, neatly trimmed, and he was wearing a black shirt. The sports watch on his wrist had long been replaced by a luxury watch worth millions. Lin Shi, he came over and hugged me. From behind, he held me tightly, burying his head down, rubbing against me while breathing heavily, like a large, aggrieved dog. You let go first. He ignored me. No matter how I coaxed him, it was useless. No matter what I said, he just kept repeating, "You're going to lie to me again." I had nothing to say. The warmth in the room was only interrupted when someone knocked on the door. I heard that person address Su-Jinan as President Su. That was how the assistant used to address him when Mr. Su was still around. "Hello, I'd like to ask about Su-Jinan's marital status." "Oh, what are you joking about? Aren't you the future Mrs. Sir just found you? He's suffered so much these years. He must have already started preparing for your wedding, right? The young aunt has always been blessing us." I paused, speechless. No outsider here has ever mentioned Fu Shi. 5 years ago, Fu Shi's engagement banquet was already set in stone. The original story mentioned in passing that everyone adored her, even the housekeeping aunties were especially fond of her. But the current situation, looking down from the balcony, Su-Jinan was in the courtyard discussing work with his assistant. What is going on with all of this? I can only ask him. "Sister, eat this." Su-Jinan kept putting food in my bowl. His hand, with its distinct knuckles, held the chopsticks firmly and picked up the food without hesitation. I hesitated again and again, but finally asked, "Where is Fu Shi?" The atmosphere fell silent for a moment. Su-Jinan didn't speak. Or perhaps, "Where is Mr. Su?" "He's dead." This time he answered quickly. "What? Dead?" "Cerebral hemorrhage. Failed to save him." I widened my eyes. In my memory, Mr. Su had been exercising regularly for years, so his life shouldn't have ended so quickly. "They all suspect that I did it," Su-Jinan suddenly said again. "Sister, what do you think?" Indeed, you could say it was me," yet he was completely honest. I pressed my lips together, unsure of what to say. But just then, Su-Jinan suddenly laughed. He tried to hit me again, but that time I fought back. He couldn't beat me, and ended up dying from anger. "Sister, do you want to guess where Fu Shi went after my dad died?" "When I went abroad back then, at the airport, only Fu Shi saw me off. Just before I left, she suddenly called out to me, 'Guess what happened between me and Su-Jinan after you left?' I didn't even turn my head. Very happy, she laughed, then came over and whispered in my ear, 'Just like that day in the hospital when you saw me pushing him out to get some sun, back then. We must have been pushing the stroller together like this too.' Su-Jinan did not put me under house arrest. He couldn't bear to treat me that way. He just wouldn't let me leave the house. The basement door was locked. When I arrived, the lock on the door wasn't new, but it was clean, without a speck of dust. It must have been opened many times recently. Oh my, what brings you here?" The auntie saw me and hurried over to pull me away. "With your condition, you shouldn't be here. It's unclean." What's going on in there? In my memory, that used to be Su-Jinan's pharmacy. It was just smashed by Mr. Su. The aunt refused to say. this is not a place you should be. Has he been here recently? Unable to resist my insistence, Auntie finally nodded, and by the time I left, I already had the answer in my heart. A beast only obeys its tamer, not the host showing off on stage. Sister, Su Jinan was drunk. When he came back, he reeked of alcohol and clung to me, refusing to let go. Let go, no. If I let go you'll run away again. I heard a sob in his voice. How come I never noticed before how much he cries? I sighed. You're watching me so closely now. How could I possibly run away? He didn't say a word. I stared at him, and suddenly an idea came to mind. Sister, you, be good. My hands had already torn open his collar. Su Jinan hadn't changed. When drunk, he was very obedient, allowing me to freely grope him without any resistance. Yesterday, I saw a maid outfit in the closet. Most likely, it was a gift from someone trying to curry favor with him, with a brand new pair of handcuffs placed on top. This child has grown up to be truly outrageous. Why are you taking off my clothes? The suit was thrown on the floor. I tied the bow of that maid outfit around his neck and said casually, "Missed you." Su Jinan stared at me without blinking. "Do you love me?" I lowered my gaze to look at him. "It doesn't matter whether you love me or not." He suddenly buried his head against me. "I love you. I only love you. I want Fushi gone. I don't want them stopping me." No one could stop him now anyway. I sighed and gently held him. "Who said I don't love you?" I smoothly retrieved the keys from Su Jinan's clothes. He was drunk, sleeping soundly, left unconscious in the bedroom. Creak. This was the first time I had ever pushed open the basement door that had been there for over a decade. I thought I would see Fushi, but I never expected to see a wall full of photos, my certificates. My photos, the few dresses I had ever worn. In the photos, there was me when I first arrived, me just starting to get familiar with gardening in the yard, me cooking noodles for Su Jinan in the kitchen. I knew there was an auntie at home who particularly loved taking photos of us. I just never expected that after I left, Su Jinan would keep all my photos to himself, freezing time for so long. On the floor lay a tattered, open notebook. I picked it up and was facing one of its pages. Lin Shi, Lin Shi. Densely packed, all my name. I found Fushi in the basement cubicle. It's pitch dark here. Not even a mouse would bother to visit. You, it's me. She was sitting on that small bed. His wrists and ankles were bound with heavy iron chains. His whole body had thinned considerably, and his eyes were vacant, as if he had been imprisoned for a very long time. You're that. I am Lin Shi. She took a moment to process it. Then, she suddenly burst into laughter. Good, you're back. Let me go, let me go. She seemed to have forgotten that she was the dazzling female lead, while I was merely the supporting character paving the way for her. The story didn't reach its original conclusion either, instead descending into this irredeemable situation today. Fushi, aren't you the female lead? Where's your protagonist's halo? She stared at me blankly, then, like a frightened psychiatric patient, she kept shrinking into the corner. No, I'm not. No. I'm not the female lead. Lin Shi is. I recalled the news I finally managed to get from Su Jinan's assistant that day. 5 years ago, Mr. Su died unexpectedly. Then, the Fu family's youngest daughter, Fushi, went missing, and the marriage agreement was called off. So, this wasn't a disappearance. It was Su Jinan who forced her to disappear. On the night I saw Fushi, I had that dream again. After 5 years, I saw the plot again. But this time, there was nothing in the plot. There was no Su Jinan from my childhood. There was no Fushi, who always arrived late, even without me. Without any interactions between the characters, I only saw 3 lines of text. Female lead, Lin Shi. Male lead, Su Jinan. Collapsed plot repairing. Punishing plot interfering female supporting character, Fushi. Ending hint, love the one you love. Sister. Su Jinan woke up, just like the first day. He pushed the door open holding a glass of milk, his eyes fixed unblinkingly on me. However, he was still wearing the ill-fitting maid outfit I had put on him last night. I rubbed my forehead and said, "Change out of that, don't you like it?" Su Jinan took my hand and pressed his cheek against my palm, his voice soft. "Sister, I'm willing to do anything you ask." He looks the most innocent and harmless, but I just gently touched his face and coaxed in a low voice, "Then let Fushi go, okay?" His body stiffened, and the next second, I threw myself into his arms, because, I'm back, I won't leave you again. Fu Shi had already been driven mad by Su Jinan. So he also learned from her what we call the plot in the female supporting character, but Fu Shi deceived us. The plot was originally written by the protagonist, which is why she ended up with such a self-inflicted outcome. I don't believe in the plot. His voice was so resolute. Lin Shi, if it's not you, I don't want anyone else. I have never felt so clearly the happiness of being firmly responded to, yet now, there is no one left who can stop it. Fu Shi has become no different from a madman. At times he throws his head back in laughter, at times he wails and sobs. His intellect seems no greater than that of a 3-year-old child. Su Jinan sent her to the welfare home and had the caregivers put her to work. The day before he sent her away, we were preparing for our engagement. Do you pity her? Su Jinan asked me. I shook my head. She's not worth it. These 5 years were all her doing. So, her fate isn't called pitiful, it's called deserved. On the day of our engagement, Mrs. Su returned from the temple, after Mr. Su's death. As if she had a sudden enlightenment, she moved directly to the temple, saying she wanted to atone for his sins. When she was a child, Su Jinan suffered abuse, and she was actually aware of it all. Lin Shi, come here. Madame Su placed a bracelet on my wrist. She held my hand and smiled. Congratulations, you weren't deceived by the plot. I widened my eyes. Could it be you? Shoo, Madame Su smiled. Not me, but the one who passed away. A male lead who was never redeemed. How pitiful the next generation would be. So Mr. Su vented all his pent-up rage on Su Jinan, but as a mere supporting female character, Lady Su bears profound sins. The future of Jinan, I entrust to you, Jinan, may your future be splendid, and your years peaceful and safe, and with me in the future, the tragedy will not repeat itself, sister. Su Jinan held a bouquet of flowers. This time, it wasn't white roses, but the most passionate red. We're already engaged. Why are you still calling me sister? The villa garden was unusually lively today. That Mr. Su, who everyone always saw as moody and unpredictable, seemed like a different person today. The corners of his eyes and brows were all smiling. I don't know, he chuckled softly. Do you remember the first time we met? I called you sister, then too. I know, you even threw a venomous snake at me. Su Jinan leaned in closer. Then today, we'll see it through to the end. From now on, don't call me sister anymore. Call me your fiancé. All right, of course. The sun was warm and radiant today, as if our burning joy had even touched the clouds. Su Jinan bowed his head and reverently slipped the engagement ring onto my finger. I smiled and asked him what he was thinking. I was thinking about what it will be like on the day I truly marry you. In these days when the grass grows and the orioles fly, every day of ours is like a devout confession of love. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.